It really is exciting for me to be able to be here today because tonight Iowans head to the caucuses. And we know that regardless of who comes out on top this evening, all of the Republican presidential candidates support the same failed policies of the past. And while Mitt Romney may have declared victory before the results even come in, crawling over the finish line in Iowa after 5 years of effort is going to come at a price. This is someone who's been running for president for the past 5 years and has struggled to gain additional support in Iowa or at the national level. We see that there is constantly a yearning for an alternative within the Republican caucus goers and within Republican voters across the country. That they're always looking for an alternative candidate. To me, I think we've been watching an anybody but Romney campaign unfold before our eyes. First it was Bachmann here in Iowa after she won the straw poll, then Rick Perry the day that Bachmann won the straw poll, then Newt Gingrich, and now finally Rick Santorum, and then somewhere in between Ron Paul. The list of right-wing positions that Mitt Romney took in an attempt to win over Iowa caucus goers who rightly harbor doubts about him has grown by the day. Over the last year, Romney has scrambled to get to the right of Rick Perry, of Newt Gingrich, and Rick Santorum, no small feat, and in a state with some of the most stalwart conservatives in the Republican nominating process, Romney's showing can be attributed to his right-wing vision for America. He's leaving Iowa with significant primary baggage that will weigh him down in the general election. He's belittled the president's $1,000 payroll tax cut as a bandaid, despite the fact that his own plan offers typical middle-class families, by his own admission, only about $54. He reiterated that he'd let Detroit go bankrupt and send 1.4 million American workers packing. He said that he'd let the foreclosure process hit the bottom so that investors can come in and make a quick buck. He signed on to a Republican budget in Congress that would end Medicare as we know it, gut Social Security, and slash funding for higher education. And he criticized the president for ending the war in Iraq, saying that he'd leave 30,000 troops on the ground with no plan for withdrawal. Mitt Romney also repackaged the same policies that led to the economic crisis and called it an economic plan. That includes cutting taxes for the wealthy and big corporations and making the middle class foot the bill, and letting Wall Street, again, write their own rules and do whatever they can to make money, regardless of the impact on the middle class and working families. Iowa caucus goers are supposed to be given the chance, from what I understand, to lift the hood and kick the tires time and again before caucus day, with an opportunity to thoroughly examine the candidates' records and leadership abilities. They didn't get that chance with Mitt Romney. That's because Romney and his allies spent more than $4 million tearing down Newt Gingrich, while only a fraction of that amount promoted Mitt Romney's actual record. Romney's opponents, in a field widely recognized as weak, squandered the opportunity to point out deeply troubling issues in his record. Iowans are heading to the caucuses tonight not knowing that Massachusetts was 47th out of 50 in job creation under Mitt Romney, or that his job in the private sector was as a corporate buyout specialist who fired workers, outsourced jobs, closed plants, and deliberately bankrupted companies. Mitt Romney wouldn't even disclose basic information that candidates in both parties have released repeatedly as standard practice, like his tax returns, because he doesn't want the middle class to know that he pays less taxes than they do. What else don't Iowa voters really know about Mitt Romney? He says he's a conservative, but he imposed fees on gun sales in Massachusetts as governor. He supported strict gun control laws, and he gave free cars to welfare recipients. I think voters deserve to know that. Do voters know that while Romney makes the claim that he was a budget slasher, he actually balanced the state budget in Massachusetts on the backs of middle-class families by raising fees on Massachusetts residents more than 100 times? And voters have heard Mitt Romney say he's pro-life. But do they know that during his run for Massachusetts governor in 2002, he told Planned Parenthood that he supported Roe v. Wade and supported state funding for abortions? Here's something I think Iowa Republicans should ask themselves before they go and cast a vote tonight in the caucuses. Would Massachusetts really elect a conservative Republican governor? Romney's entire candidacy has been a charade. He's turned into more shapes and forms than the Wonder Twins. Mitt Romney has made it clear that he'll say and do anything to get elected, and that includes trying to cover up previous moderate to liberal positions that he took as a Massachusetts politician to make sure that voters never really know the truth about his record. That's what Mitt Romney brings to the table. And the fact is that this election will be a choice about who will restore economic security for the middle class. There's a reason that no poll in recent months has shown Romney or any of the Republican candidates beating the president in Iowa, even after millions of dollars have been spent attacking him here. That's because the president has been focusing on restoring economic security for the middle class, while Republicans have been in a race to the right. So while the Republican candidates pack up their own offices tomorrow and head out of town, President Obama has made it clear that we've been here, he'll still be here, fighting for Iowa's working families. For the president, the caucus tonight is an opportunity, and it has been, leading all the way up until tonight, to have a conversation with our supporters about what we've already accomplished together. That includes winning the Iowa caucus 4 years ago, passing health care reform, ending the war, bringing the economy back from the brink, and rebuilding it to make sure that hard work pays off and responsibility is rewarded. It includes helping the middle class reclaim the security that they'd lost, make sure Wall Street plays by the same rules as Main Street, repealing the don't ask, don't tell policy, breaking our dependence on Middle East oil, and so much more. The president's also continuing to talk to Iowans about the things that we want to accomplish together over the next year. Tonight, he's going to be speaking by live video to Iowa caucus goers at sites across the state, and tomorrow, we're going to emerge from the caucus with the strongest grassroots organization and infrastructure in place that any candidate has ever seen running for president going forward. We've already been laying the groundwork for victory. Since the campaign launched in April, Iowa staff and volunteers have opened 8 campaign offices across the state in Cedar Rapids, Sioux City, Des Moines, Waterloo, Davenport, Iowa City, Dubuque, and Council Bluffs. We held more than 1,200 trainings, planning sessions, house parties, or phone banks. We made over 350,000 phone calls to supporters, and we held more than 4,000 one-on-one conversations. Now, when I say one-on-one conversations, these are actual face-to-face conversations, personal sit-downs with voters about what really matters to them, because we care about what matters to them, and how they can become leaders in the campaign and in their community. No presidential campaign has ever done this on this scale, and most campaigns don't do them at all. That's the president's battle plan for victory, so that he can keep fighting for working families here in Iowa and across the country. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'd be glad to take any questions. Yeah.
Hi.
And just let me know where you're from.
Sure. Hillary Krieger with the Jerusalem Post.
Great.
I was just at the Romney event this morning, and he started out by criticizing President Obama on Iran. His advisors later said that they saw Iran as the top foreign policy issue facing America right now. So I was wondering, first of all, if you agree that it's the top foreign policy issue, and second of all, what you would say to his attacks on the president that he tried a failed engagement approach, that sanctions haven't been strong enough, and that this is a real vulnerability of his going into a general election.
Mitt Romney has done a fantastic job distorting at every opportunity and mischaracterizing and even lying about the president's record. Thanks to President Obama, we were able to pass and push through and pass the most biting sanctions in history through the United Nations and got China and Russia to join us in cracking down on Iran. We passed through his leadership, through the Congress, several different bills that tighten the noose economically around Iran's neck, and we have made sure that it is extremely difficult for Iran to do business. We have absolutely slowed their progress, actually, and done so in combination with our allies, like the State of Israel. We need to I think, all be mindful that President Obama has repeatedly said that the concern over making sure that Iran never reaches the opportunity to have a nuclear weapon is a very significant foreign policy priority, and one that he said he would make sure that no options were off the table.
And do you think it's the top foreign policy priority?
Well, I'm not the President of the United States. That's not for me to say. As a member of Congress, I can tell you that I think it's one of the most significant foreign policy priorities. So we have more than one. I think it's actually a little bit naive to single out one and hold that up above all others, because there are several that we should be focusing on. And when you're President of the United States, you have to be able to multitask, and that's an important distinction to make. Yes.
Yeah.
No, behind you.
Thank you. Hi, NPR.
Yeah.
I just wanted to, both yesterday and today, these final hours are clearly focused on Mitt Romney. Why are you focusing your message so much right now on Romney as opposed to other candidates, Lawrence or others?
Mitt Romney has earned the focus. He has spent the vast majority of his campaign training his focus on President Obama and, like I said, mischaracterizing, distorting, and even lying about the president's record. One thing we're going to make sure is that that this campaign and President Obama doesn't take that criticism lying down. President Obama is singularly focused on being president and making sure that we can continue to fight to create jobs and get this economy turned around. But there's going to be a very clear choice, no matter who the Republicans choose to nominate when they get done with their circular firing squad. We want to make sure that that Republican voters, Republican caucus goers tonight, and the American people understand the dramatically different contrast between the direction that President Obama has been taking this country, standing up and bringing the economy from bleeding 750,000 jobs a month to 22 straight months of private sector job growth, and a Republican field with Mitt Romney, at or near the top, who has consistently said he wants to stand up for the wealthiest, most fortunate Americans. Bruce?
Well, I think one of the key reasons that I've spent so much time talking about him is because he's already declared victory and acting like he is the nominee of the Republican Party. And I think if that is the projection that he's making here in Iowa, it's important for me to stand up and set the record straight. I think Debbie hit the point perfectly when she said he's acting like that kid in school that we used to call the gunner. Ooh, choose me. Because he will say anything and do anything to be elected president of the United States. And it's important for people in Iowa, independents, Democrats, and Republicans, to know his true background as they head out to their caucus tonight, no matter what they end up doing. I represent a district that's 40% independent voters, and they are the key to this election in November across the country. And it's important for independents who may not be getting the same message that Democrats or Republicans are getting through their parties to pay attention now, especially if they're heading off to register to participate in the caucuses tonight.
Absolutely.
What kind of a turnout are you hoping for tonight? The Democrats have been organizing, trying to get support for President Obama, sort of in a symbolic way, I think. How many people do you hope to see?
Actually, tonight is sort of the first day of the rest of the campaign, but it's a culmination of the effort that we've been making for months and months. Like I said, while the Republicans have been engaged in their first circular firing squad, we have been making sure that we get up and running and organized. We have 8 offices in Iowa. We have 20 staff here in the state. We have engaged fully in contacting and reaching out to Iowa voters, get them involved, 350,000 calls, 4,000 one-on-one meetings, making sure that we have 1,200 different kinds of events, house parties, and other kinds of meetings. So the focus tonight is to continue that organizational effort and then essentially shoot that effort out of the cannon tomorrow. When the rest of the Republican field packs up their offices and leaves town, we have been here, we will continue to be here, and we will continue to take and treat Iowa seriously like any serious presidential candidate should, as opposed to, let's say, Mitt Romney, who's been here about 15 times the whole year.
And just a reminder to the national and international press, the Iowa caucuses are a national political event. To the people that I work with every day, they are a precinct caucus where people come together to talk about important policy issues, to elect delegates to the next level of the nominating process within our state nominating guidelines. And for me, I'll be out trying to get people to sign my nominating petition so that I can run for Congress again. So there's some very practical local things that are going to be going on at these precinct caucuses in addition to the Republican nominating process.
Yes. You. Your turn, sorry.
Dr. Wheeler with the Uptake.org up in Minnesota. Latinos have expressed some reservation about voting to re-elect President Obama. They haven't gotten immigration reform. Deportations have increased in the last 4 years. How does the DNC, how does the Democratic Party deal with this to get them out again?
Actually, all the polling that I've seen of Hispanic voters shows by an overwhelming margin that they support President Obama and intend to go and vote to re-elect him. And the reason that that is the case is because President Obama and Democrats in general are the natural home politically for Latino voters. When it comes to the issues and the priorities of Latino voters, creating jobs, getting the economy turned around, making sure that the President and the White House focuses on standing up for working families, making sure that we focus on closing the achievement gap that the Hispanic families struggle with when it comes to education, making sure that we have a President of the White House that's going to fight to make college more affordable. there's a huge gap for the Hispanic Americans in their ability to attend college because of that lack of affordability. President Obama he promised that 4 years ago in Iowa and has delivered on it, increasing the amount of money available for Pell Grants, making sure that college is more affordable and accessible for millions of more college-eligible students. When it comes to the issues that are important to Hispanic voters, President Obama has earned their support. That's why he still enjoys it, and we will make sure that we continue to focus on those issues throughout the rest of the campaign in his presidency.
And Hispanics are the fastest growing segment of the population here in Iowa, as in many states. We have some communities in our state that are majority minority, which doesn't fit with the perception of Iowa, but it's true. And there's been some very innovative program of dual language elementary, middle school, and high school programs showing that when we embrace diversity in our state and come up with creative ideas to engage people, give them opportunity, it's good for our country. If you listen to the Republican presidential candidates, you will hear no talk about that, the positive aspects of bringing people in and making them valuable members of society. So I would encourage all Hispanic voters to pay attention to what candidates say, to look at the record of the president on the core issues that they care about, and I don't think they would have any choice on how they vote in this election.
I want to actually add something else on that front. Any Hispanic voters watching the debates during the Republican primary contest, I mean, the revulsion that they have to have felt from the commentary and the violence. I mean, I don't mean physical violence, but the strongly held views of all the Republicans that are against everything that matter in the Hispanic community when it comes to domestic issues. I mean, it's just been unbelievable to me that all the Republican candidates support ending Medicare as we know it. They all support allowing the Social Security to be invested in the stock market. The social safety net, the safety net that protects senior citizens, when it comes to Hispanic senior citizens who are more vulnerable economically than the average senior in the population, that's something that dramatically impacts the Hispanic community. The Hispanic community is also very close-knit when it comes to their family ties. They believe in a close-knit extended family. They look out for each other. There isn't anyone running on the Republican side that would be looking out for the Hispanic community or their extended family members, and I think that's been reflected in the debates and will be reflected no matter who ends up being their nominee.